Support for this program is provided in part by Guido's Fresh Marketplace.
Natural cook. I'm Anna Gershenson. Today we're making another very comforting and satisfying dish. It is quinoa chowder with spinach, scallions, and feta. Because scallions were not available at the supermarket because of whatever problems in California, I'm substituting them with leeks, but remember that you will be using scallions. So what we are going to be starting with is setting up your pot of water. You will have 2 quarts, and you will have 3/4 cup of quinoa. You can use either white quinoa or red or black or combination. It doesn't really matter. So we will add quinoa to the pot of water, and we will keep the strainer here because we will need to strain it once it's ready. And we will increase our heat to bring the water to boil, and we will cook quinoa for 10 minutes. In the meantime, we are going to be preparing the vegetables that will be going into our soup. And they are garlic and jalapeno that will go first. So first I'm going to work with garlic. I'm going to chop it nicely so that it will be cooking. And it's also nice for the garlic to sit a little bit and to it actually, when garlic sits for a while after it's been chopped, it increases its healing properties. So this is what we're going to do today. And I'm watching in the meantime my pot of soup, and as you can see, it is beginning to start simmering. You don't want to cook it at very high heat. Once the water comes to boil, you will reduce it, and then you will cook your quinoa. All right, so our garlic is practically done. And now on to jalapeno. Now you don't want to use the seeds because they're extremely hot. So what you are going to do is just cut off the green part and to leave seeds inside. Just like that. You will be rotating it and cutting it off. And make sure before you start cooking that you have all your ingredients ready, because you don't want to discover that all of a sudden you are missing something, and then you will have to really hustle. What am I going to do about it? And also, your cooking will be much faster if everything is organized. All right. Now we're going to be finely chopping the jalapeno that is going to give some heat to this soup. And this soup actually is of Peruvian origin. The chef from whose cookbook Deborah Madison has gleaned this recipe that she absolutely adores is Peruvian born. His name is Felipe Rojas Lombardi. He was working in this country, and he actually is credited to bringing the Spanish and Caribbean influence to the haute cuisine in this country. He was an outstanding chef, and if you want to see more of his recipes, you can look him up. He has the cookbook of of cuisine of South America, and this is where this soup recipe was. Okay, so we are chopping our jalapeno. And by the way, Deborah Madison is somebody who I absolutely adore, especially, you know, she's extremely prolific. She opened Green's restaurant in San Francisco, California, and started vegetarian concept of a vegetarian restaurant there. But she has written many cookbooks, and one of my favorites is Vegetarian Cooking for Everyone. And I have used so many recipes from that book, and they're all great. You know, sometimes you get a cookbook and you find a couple of recipes that will work for you, and you're happy with that. But this is the cookbook that is really tested through and through, and you can trust it and cook from it. Okay, so this is ready for our next step. In the meantime, we will also proceed with our leeks. You would be using scallions in this recipe, and what you will do is have a bunch of scallions, and you will use the white part and about 1 inch of the green part. But leeks are a good substitute, and leeks are also one of my favorite vegetables to use in cooking and in salads. And so what we are going to do is make sure that you have all the dirt from leeks gone, washed out. And you do it either by peeling off the leaves, like running under cold water, like, you know, separating and running under cold water, or you can slice it, and then you can actually dump the whole thing into a bowl with cold water, and then whatever sand happens to be there, it will just go to the bottom, and you will scoop out the leeks, and they will be perfectly clean. Okay, so as you can see, quinoa is you know, the ingredient that comes to us from the Andes. It used to be grown by the Incas, and so that's why you see that this soup is by the chef who comes from Peru. Okay, all right. Finally, our quinoa is cooking. That's good. So it will be cooking for 10 minutes. It will be cooking for 10 minutes, and then we will strain it. Okay, some more chopping. So with the scallions, or leeks in this case, you will be using half of them. You will be adding half of them when at the beginning of your cooking, and then the other half at the end of your cooking. Okay, reduce the heat a little bit. All right, and looking at the clock, I have no timer here, but I have a clock in front of me, so I'll be watching. All right, so the next ingredient that will be going into this soup is potato. And potato, of course, is also coming to us from the ancient, from, you know, the Indian population. It comes from the Americas. So these are all ingredients that are native to that area. Let's put this aside. These are our leeks. Now we'll peel our potatoes, and you need half a pound of potatoes, and the potatoes should be the kind that is waxy. So you will not be using potatoes that are starchy, that will be falling apart in your chowder. But these are the potatoes that hold their shape. And of course, by starchy, I mean potato like russets or Idaho. These are red potatoes, and it's a little bit more than half a pound here, so I won't use all of them. Okay, and so everything will be cut very small. These potatoes have to be in 1/4-inch cubes, and they will cook quickly. All right. So let's see. Our quinoa is cooking nicely, and what you are watching for is you want to see that little sprout that comes out of the quinoa starts appearing, and that's what you are looking for. All right. Let's prepare our potatoes. So 1/4-inch cubes. So we have to cut 1/4-inch thick slices going horizontally and then vertically. Okay, and don't cut all the way to the end, because it's much easier for you to keep your potato not falling apart and holding it when you are not cutting all the way through. All right. Now another one. Okay, let's do it here. Okay. All right, and now, okay, so our potatoes will be ready when we need them. And we'll take half of this, and that will be about 1/2 pound. Let's put it here. Okay. All right. So our potatoes are ready, because they will be going into the pot really soon after we saute our garlic and our jalapenos. All right, so at this point, what I'm going to do is take this and strain. Okay, I will strain my quinoa. All right. Okay. Okay. And set it aside. And in the meantime, we will add 2 tablespoons of olive oil to the pot. Get it going, heat it up before you add your garlic and jalapeno, but you want to make sure when you're sauteing your garlic that your garlic is not browning. It has to stay pale. Okay. All right. So now we will add our garlic. Let's put aside our water. And we actually have to measure. The amount of water that we need for the soup is 6 cups. So if you don't have enough, then add some more. All right. Let's add garlic. Okay, reduce the heat. We don't want it to cook too fast. Jalapeno. All right. I'll add just a little pinch of salt and saute them just for a minute or so that they release their aromas. Okay. All right. Okay, now that they are cooking nicely, you can hear the sizzle and you can smell the wonderful aroma of cooking garlic. We will add a teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of kosher salt. Mix them up. And then we will add our potatoes. Okay. All right. So potatoes, so this will be cooking together for about 3 minutes. Okay, I see that some potatoes didn't cut through properly. Okay, let's fix that. Okay. 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 All right, our potatoes are cooking, and in the meantime, make sure that your garlic is not browning. And now you can smell cumin as well, and I absolutely love cumin, and I like adding it to different soups just to intensify the flavor and to avoid adding too much salt. Okay. So now what we are going to do now is add the water, and we will make sure that we have 6 cups. So let's measure. Let's take this one. We'll have 6 cups of water. All right. 4. Okay. And 2 more. Okay. All right. Let's bring it back to boil. All right. We will put the quinoa back there. We will add half of our scallions, pretend scallions or leeks. Okay. And so we'll be simmering it until the potatoes are cooked. Okay. We will leave the rest of the scallions or leeks, in this case, to add when the potatoes are already tender. In the meantime, we will slice our spinach. We will need 3 cups of thinly sliced spinach. Let me move them to this bowl so that they are not in our way. Okay. All right. Okay. So thinly slice the spinach. As you can see, the spinach needs to be washed, of course. If it comes in a bunch, I got it in a bunch. I didn't buy the baby spinach from a box. I washed it in several changes of water. There was a lot of sand there, and then I just dried it in a spinner, and then it's very convenient to put it all together in one pile, which makes it very, very easy to slice. So here we have 3 cups of thinly sliced spinach, and it comes from a fairly big sized bunch that they sell coming from California. Unfortunately, all these greens are not available here because this is not the time of year when they grow here. As we know, either they need to be grown in the hothouse or we need to bring them from elsewhere. Okay, so our spinach is ready, and our quinoa and potatoes are cooking, and we are watching them. And another ingredient that we'll have to prepare that will go into this soup is some cilantro. Cilantro is this wonderful ingredient that is very, very good for you to consume because it takes heavy metals out of your body. And with the pollution that we have, we know that we need to detox on a regular basis, and this is wonderful food that helps us do that. So we will just chop some quinoa to prepare it, to drop in when the soup is ready. I will reduce the heat a little bit. I don't want it to cook so fast because it's not good to have such high heat, because the energy that is produced is very very quick, and we want something calming and comforting, and so that energy of food will be transferred into our bodies. Okay, now we'll set it aside, and we will also prepare eggs that will be garnishing. So this egg was hard boiled, and this egg is actually is an egg that came from an organic farm. And why it is important to buy organic eggs? Because if you don't want to eat glyphosate that comes to us from the food that went, the Roundup, the chemical Roundup that is in glyphosate, if you want to avoid that, then organic is the only way to go. And this is what I try to do. So let's peel the egg. I'll just swish it in cold water. And the egg also will be cut into small pieces that will be sprinkled on top of your soup. Okay, so let's go like that. And another ingredient that will go into soup is quinoa. Feta cheese, sorry. Quinoa is already, I'm thinking about quinoa because it is so good for you. It is a wonderful food to have as a staple in your pantry and to cook on a regular basis and to have in your refrigerator, where you can either throw it on the skillet together with some aromatics, or saute some scallions or garlic and jalapeno, and then you can warm it up. And this will be just absolutely wonderful food for you. So quinoa is great food. So let's taste. Well, this soup is definitely needs a little bit more salt, but be careful not to add too much, simply because we are going to add feta, and feta can be very salty. So if you are aware of the health concerns that have to do with high sodium, then you should watch it definitely. Okay, so at this point, we will add more scallion and continue cooking. All right. And once the potatoes are soft, at this point we will be throwing in the spinach, and then when we are ready to serve the soup, then we will add our toppings, wonderful toppings. Okay, so I will add the spinach at this point because our potatoes are pretty close to being done. Okay. Let's add the spinach. Okay. All of this nice stuff that I have here goes into the pot. All right. And you can see that this soup is going to be really thick. That's why it is called chowder. Let's taste again. I can taste jalapeno, and the flavor is developing from leeks, and of course we will have wonderful flavor coming from cilantro. And then we will prepare our feta cheese. So it will be also cut into small cubes, and it will go into our soup. You can just crumble it, or you can cut it into small pieces. Okay. So now we are going to put feta and eggs, and our cilantro, and then a grinding of black pepper, and we have a delicious, nutritious chowder that you will enjoy in this frigid, cold weather of the winter Berkshires. Please enjoy the show and come back.
Support for this program is provided in part by Guido's Fresh Marketplace.